Shipwreck by Charles Logan, published in 1975, is a brilliant description of a man marooned on a far distant planet after his colony ship is destroyed and he is the sole survivor. It is not an adventure novel, it's more of a psychological and physiological series of challenges that he faces and must overcome to survive on this planet. There are a number of things that make the book particularly interesting as one worth reading, and that is Charles Logan's description of the planet itself. He has a rather clever idea that there is a single plant on this planet which covers the entire livable surface, which is well executed, well described, and well realized. And it causes our hero, Tansis, who's a shuttle pilot. He wasn't killed in the destruction of the colony ship because he happened to be in a shuttle at the time of the disaster, just as the ship was coming to orbit its target planet for colonization. Tansis faces the challenge that this plant represents at the beginning of the novel, and indeed it seems that this is all he might encounter on this planet, which is part of what fuels his loneliness, because he is desperate to find other animals and indeed intelligent beings that he might communicate with to alleviate this psychological challenge that he faces of just being alone, as well as all the physiological and technical challenges he faces of living on an alien planet. He does find animals, but they're almost all restricted to the aquatic domain because the plant has so effectively overtaken the terrestrial domain. And in the end, he does find animals that might be intelligent, and he does make a connection with them, but it's not one that you might imagine. It's really, you need to read the book and then see how he handles that. It's not it's quite a realistic presentation of how two alien species might struggle to communicate. Tansis is also struggling to come to terms with living on this planet. It's a planet that has an air atmosphere like ours, so he can breathe out in the open, and it's also a water-bearing planet, so it has oceans, and obviously because all of the animals live in the marine or riverine domain. But of course it has its own alien microbiota, and that's something that's a challenge for him and something that he has to overcome. And also he faces the problem of finding food as well, because the shuttle only has limited resources, and so eventually he must be thrown on his own clever manipulation of his environment to be able to survive. And this he does, and he faces a whole number of challenges, but I won't give away the ending. You must read the book. It's a very good description of a marooning and someone facing life alone. There can be no rescue because he's travelled 65 light years to get there and was born on the colony ship on which he arrived, and there is going to be no rescue or no provision of anything for him to be able to survive, so he must fall back on his own resources. And also there's no communication with Earth or any of the other colony ships that were sent out to different stars, and so he is truly alone, and it is a brilliant description of that. There's a couple of other things about the novel which are worth noting. One is, this is the only novel written by Charles Logan, and it's a very good one. It won this award, and I think justifiably so, but he never wrote another one. I think he wrote a non-fiction book, and so I'm curious about why that is, I don't know. I've done a little bit of research and not found anything. Did he write other novels and they weren't deemed as good and not published, or was this it? This was his novel and he never wrote another one. The second is the terrific artwork by David Bergen, which really captures the essence of the novel. And really this is a scene from the novel, because Tansis spends a lot of his time in his pressure suit when he's out and about on the planet. It takes him a long time to overcome his hypochondria before he dares even take his helmet off. And so this captures his sense of loneliness and his searches on the surface of the planet, especially around the margins of the ocean, to see what he can find in this alien world. Anyway, I thoroughly recommend this as a book, and you can go to my website and see a more detailed review there. Okay, all the best.